In fact, actually, let's have this conversation with Nick Smuts from Essential Fuels. I think this is a very important conversation. Nick, it's a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I can imagine just on your side, this is one time where you're looking at these petrol price drops and asking yourself, how exactly do we get this right for consumers? How does this really impact your business as a retailer? How do you prepare for price drops such as these? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. When it comes to price drops like this, it can sometimes be, a little bit of a juggle whereby you try and keep as much stock as is needed, so that after the price changes, you have enough to service the customers coming in, but also not an excessive amount of stock, so as to the money that you've got lying in product in your tanks, therefore devalues. And then you lose that money as the retailer, and that obviously will have cascading effects.
Yeah, so for you, you're actually hoping to sell off this fuel before the midnight figure. Is that it?
Well, all garages kind of have a contract with the oil company that they are signed up towards, and that contract will mandate a certain amount of days worth of safety stock that they've got in hand. That safety stock, obviously, by contract has to be there. You want to keep your stocks lower for a price decrease so that the stock is not in the tank and you don't run the risk of losing that money.
And a very important one there for you. So how do you manage the situation to ensure that you're doing things like planning for future decreases or increases, if you can't do that at all? And then considering that fuel prices are now headed to their lowest since 2022, how does that impact your margins as well? Because one imagines that cascades, whether it be from the oil producers, from everyone else, right through to those petrol attendants and the petrol stations themselves. There must be an incremental increase in how much each one's getting.
As the years go by, the costs do increase, wages increase, salaries increase, and the different levies may increase as well. The petrol prices and the margins that are set in there are mandated by the government. They are set. The diesel prices, those are generally allowed to be sort of decentralized. You can charge what you need to in your market to remain competitive. So the petrol prices margins that exist, it doesn't get affected by the price changes on a monthly basis.
So should we decentralize fuel prices then? Tough question.
So I certainly think so. It will be amazing for the South African consumer.
So and explain that to me, because if we decentralize the costing, that takes government away somewhat, right?
Well, it doesn't necessarily affect government. What it affects is it increases the competitive landscape of a otherwise very controlled industry. So now people can approach consumers in a way that will allow them to save on a monthly basis and rather go to their garage instead of the one down the road.
Ah, okay. So that's actually fascinating. So how much we pay right now could really be impacted by the amount of competition we allow into the country. The worry that some people might actually have then is quality of fuel. Does that alter depending on how much competition there is, and could decentralization impact that?
No, it shouldn't actually have an effect on the quality of fuel. If the fuels come from the large refineries or the large storage gantries that we have situated across the country and are imported as per the SAN specification that are required or sold as per that specification, there should not be a quality concern. There are sometimes issues where quality control does fall a little bit flat, but when you're talking about companies that have strong ethics and in an industry where brands are strong, you don't really run that risk. Quality is quality.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. But Nick, is it still a profitable business? Is hosting fuels or selling fuel or even owning a petrol station, for example, is that still a solid business, especially when you consider the amount of taxes that still need to be paid over to government that are obviously changing on a year-to-year basis, more likely than not. Yes, there's been a decrease in the oil price. I mean, we had seen 110, 120 odd many years ago. We're still sitting at $60 odd a barrel right now, and that shift hasn't necessarily been fully felt, one would think, to petrol stations because other costs are still going up, wages and the like, as you made note of. So is it still as profitable?
Well, I mean, a good horse is as good as its jockey, right? So it's about the individual service stations and their managers and owners and how committed they are to running a profitable show. It can be very profitable. It can easily not be, but I suppose that translates into many industries, not just the fuel industry.
Yeah. What do you think of these fuel levies then as well? How much would that change things if we were to re-look at our fuel levies as a country?
What do you mean to relook? To reduce the fuel levies?
Possibly.
I mean,
yeah, we could possibly look at reducing them if need be. Of course, the fiscus needs it as much, and that's what government is using it for. But if that was to be a relook at in order to help consumers, which would ultimately reduce inflation, which gives people more spending power, etc., do you think that would be a little bit more beneficial?
I think the guys who look at that, I mean, they look at it over a couple of years. I think they're doing a competent job. I know that our taxes on our fuel are high, especially if we compare our neighbors like Botswana and so on. But one thing that the government, needs to understand, and what people need to understand, is that fuel tax is a tax that's sort of paid by everybody. It's not. It knows no class, no income. When you buy a litre of fuel, you're paying for the taxes thereof. Some people are affected harder than other people by those taxes. But yeah, it's a very broad form of taxing the country as a whole.
That's fascinating. All right, let me ask you about one thing that maybe you might not be as concerned about, but wondering how it impacts your business anyway. Electric vehicles. That's something that the market is looking at. Are you worried at all?
Honestly, no. We aren't so worried in the near future. Perhaps if you're looking 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. But that also gives us enough opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to take ourselves in directions that will help us remain relevant and competitive.
All right, just as a final question then, this price drop. Is this an opportunity, you think, for the industry to kind of rethink and look at its long-term strategy and goals here? Or is this simply just a short-term reprieve, particularly for consumers?
Well, I mean, we'd have to take a step back and look at the whole global oil space. Us as a country, right, we're doing what we can, and we're doing better than what we've done before. I mean, the rand is strengthening, gold is at an all-time high. Yeah, we're certainly doing what we can, but when you look at it on a global scale, the amount of money involved in this industry, you have to think about the lucky guy who might have the crystal ball to see what's going to happen in the future. So when it comes to what's going to happen for the year ahead, South Africa is certainly doing its part, by having a more stable economy, by having a stronger currency. But what can happen in the geopolitical conflicts around the world, that can create swings, and that will likely create swings in the year coming in. There will be price increases, there will be decreases. It all depends also on the amount of peace that we have in the world. If we have more peace, you can be sure that we're going to have more fuel stability and better prices. So let's see how it ends up.
Yeah, and people always get irritated that, the price increases always go higher than when the prices go down. Is there a phenomenon to that? Is that something that you think people should actually be concerned about?
I must say, I'm working part of this industry. I've been accused of that many times. Like, no, you guys are manipulating the pricing and so on. But that's not the case. The oil prices are very strictly sort of determined by the rand-dollar exchange, and the price of Brent crude oil. Now, as one of those, well, both of those now fluctuate as you go through time, they will determine the price. And the prices are, a snapshot gets taken basically every day about what the difference is, what kind of over recovery or under recovery. And what I mean by that is, are we paying too much or are we paying too little, depending on where the rand dollar exchange is and where the global oil price is at that time. So yeah, as that goes through the month, it gets averaged out, and on the last Friday prior to the next price change, the price gets set then for the next month, and the whole cycle continues again. So no, there isn't a lot of manipulation. When I say there can be some, it might be with regard to levies being enacted or so forth, but that hasn't been the case now for a while. So what you're seeing is purely a situation of rand dollar exchange and crude price.
Nick, always good chatting to you. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it today as well. Just an educational lesson, I think, for all of us. Nick Smuts, the operations manager at Essential Fuels, joining us on that expected fuel price drop for today, but certainly even the movements we could see across